In the year 2143, humanity had long since expanded beyond Earth. Colonies were established on Mars, the moons of Jupiter, and beyond. But with this expansion came old habits, and one of them was war. Zara was a member of the Sentinel Corps, an organization designed to prevent the escalation of conflicts between the colonies. She had seen wars break out before, small skirmishes over resources, misunderstandings that escalated into full-blown battles. But this time, it felt different. This time, the war wasn't just about territory. It was about survival. Her mission had started like any other. She and her team were sent to the outer rim of the solar system to investigate a strange signal, one that had been picked up by the Interplanetary Communication Network. The signal was encrypted, and no one could decipher it. But Zara was trained to recognize patterns in the chaos, and this one felt familiar. It was the same kind of signal sent out during past wars, coded messages, rallying cries, and secret orders. Something was stirring, and Zara was determined to stop it before it spread like wildfire. The crew aboard the Endeavour, her ship, was on high alert. Zara stood at the command center, eyes glued to the screen as they approached the source of the signal. It was coming from a derelict space station near Neptune, an abandoned research facility from the early days of space exploration. "Zara," came the voice of her second-in-command, Lieutenant Jai. "We've reached the station. It's completely silent. No life signs detected, but that doesn't mean it's safe." Zara nodded, her fingers tapping the edge of the console nervously. "Proceed with caution. If this is what I think it is, we're not just dealing with an old piece of technology, we're dealing with a weapon." The air was thick with tension as the team docked with the station. Zara had been briefed on the history of the station, but she had never been prepared for the feeling of unease that settled over her as she stepped inside. The hallways were dimly lit, the walls covered in layers of dust, yet something felt alive. She could hear the hum of ancient machinery in the distance. "Split up. Search the station," Zara ordered. "Be careful. If anyone finds something suspicious, report it immediately." Zara made her way through the twisting corridors, the silence pressing down on her like a weight. It wasn't long before she found it. An old communication array, partially intact but still functional. The encrypted signal was being sent from this very room. "Lieutenant Jai, come to my location," Zara said, her voice urgent. "We've found the source." When Jai arrived, he was silent for a moment, taking in the sight of the array. "This is ancient. How is it still working?" Zara knelt down, inspecting the machinery. "It's not just working. It's been updated. Someone has been using this to send out messages that could incite war." Jada's eyes widened. Who would do something like this? Why? Zara didn't have an answer, but she had a feeling she wouldn't like the one she would find. They worked quickly to access the files hidden within the array. The encryption was stronger than anything they had seen before, but Zara was skilled at breaking codes. As the last layer of security fell away, the screen flickered to life. What they saw made their blood run cold. It was a series of messages, orders, threats, and propaganda. A group of rogue colonists, dissatisfied with the government's control over the resources of the solar system, had started to form a rebellion. Their plan was to provoke war among the colonies by hacking into communication networks and using old, forgotten technologies like this one to spread fear and hatred. "We can't let this happen," Zara muttered under her breath. "We have to stop them before it spreads further." Jai nodded grimly. "How do we do that? They've already sent out dozens of messages. We'll be fighting a war before we even know it." Zara clenched her fists, feeling the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. "We expose them. We make sure the colonies know the truth. This isn't about resources or freedom. It's about chaos. We can't let them drive us into another war." The team quickly got to work, using the station's communication systems to send out a counter message. Zara's heart raced as she typed out the broadcast, explaining the situation and urging the colonies to unite against the deception. But it was too late. Before they could finish, the station's lights flickered and the hum of machinery grew louder. Zara's screen blinked, warning of an incoming threat. The station was no longer alone. Outside, A fleet of ships appeared on their radar, ships from one of the rogue colonies, heavily armed and moving toward the station. "We have to leave now," Zara said urgently, her voice tight with panic. "If we stay here, we'll be caught in the crossfire." The team scrambled back to the Endeavor, the rogue ships closing in on them with frightening speed. Zara's mind raced as she thought of a plan. The only way they could stop the war was to expose the truth to the entire solar system, to make sure every colony knew they had been manipulated. The Endeavor launched into the cold emptiness of space, but the rogue fleet was not far behind. Zara ordered the ship into evasive maneuvers, but it wasn't enough. The rogue ships fired, and the Endeavor rocked under the impact. They were losing power. Zara knew that they were running out of time. If they didn't act quickly, the war would be inevitable. She ran to the communications console, hacking into the main broadcast system of the rogue ships. "Please don't let humans wage wars." She broadcasted to the entire solar system, her voice shaking. "This is not a war for freedom. This is a war for destruction. We've been tricked. Don't let them turn us against each other. We are stronger together." The message echoed across the colonies, reaching ears both loyal and rebellious. For a moment, there was silence. Then, the rogue ships stopped advancing. Zara didn't know if the war would end, but she knew they had done everything they could. The battle wasn't over, but the seeds of peace had been planted.